All right, what's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to the Rise Urban Nation podcast, a podcast where we unite, uplift, and ignite Black and Pan African entrepreneurs who are shaping culture, building legacy. I'm your host, Taryell Simmons, and today's guest is someone who's literally changing the game when it comes to government contracting and wealth building for the culture. Now, if you ever wondered how to turn your side hustle into signed contracts, the type of that real money, that mailbox money that is
Yes,
not
sir.
exposed to any risk, you're going to want to lean into this episode and learn what my boy, today's guest, Malcolm Ali, better known as Mr. Purchase Order. Oh, we gonna need Trey Songz to come out there to give you a hook. Like purchase up. Let me see your purchase. He is
I
the
appreciate that gracious
con.
introduction.
Yeah, no problem, brother. I'm still going. As you can see, I still got more bars for you. Like he, Mr.
Bring it.
Mr. Purchase Order. He's a con government expert. Wait, let me say that. Let me rewind that because I messed that one up. He's a GovCon expert, entrepreneur, number one best-selling author, an AI alchemist, and he just told me about what the stuff he was doing with AI. I'm gonna have to enter one of his programs because he doing some big things. He's helped minority-owned businesses win over $5 million in government contracts, and his mission is simple: help Black and brown entrepreneurs secure the bag using systems, strategy, and smart technology. Mr. Purchase Order, welcome to the Rise Urban Nation podcast, brother.
I appreciate you having me. I appreciate you having me.
Anytime. I and the for those who gonna get the video experience, he even got dope merch too. Show the people the merch. Did
Oh
you
yeah,
did you do that
gotta.
yourself too?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Gotta
Like,
have the merch available. So, yeah, man, just trying to spread the word.
yeah. Now I heard you out in Philly right now. What's going on in Philly?
Yeah, man. I decided to take the show on the road. I do a lot of workshops on government contracting in the Atlanta metro area,
Uh-huh.
and people outside of the city started reaching out to me. So I decided to take it on the road and start a tour. And the tour starts here in my hometown of Philly. It's called the Big BIDness Tour,
The big business. Okay.
BIDness.
All right.
So
All right, I
yeah.
like that. I like that. Well, welcome to Rise Urban Nation. I've been following. I just got introduced. I don't know how we got connected, but I just started diving into some of your work from the Procure Force to your books, Big BIDness, as you would
Yes,
say,
sir.
and then the Trap GPT. You've been bridging government and contracting and culture like nobody else. So let's start from the top. How did you get into procurement and supply diversity?
Oh man, desperation. Uh, I'm keeping it real with you, man. Like
Yeah,
20, a little over 20 years ago, I was working with an electrical contractor,
yeah.
and I just had a kid,
Mhm.
and they were losing money, and he came in and basically was like, "I got to fire everybody."
Man.
And for me, I'm from Philly. The hustle is just there. So I stepped in his office and I'm like, "Hey man, if I can bring some money in, would you consider keeping me around?" And
Mhm.
he's like, "Listen, I can give you 2 months." And that's how I got into the contracting side on the supplier side. I actually bid it on a contract with the city of Philadelphia and won.
Mm.
So, that was kind of a bridge for that company to get into the contracting game. And then I left Philly a few years later
Yeah.
and ended up working on the government side as a contracting officer or procurement officer. So I've
Mhm.
had experience at that point in both sides of the game, both on the supplier side and on the government side. And I've been working within the government within different municipalities and states ever since.
Gotcha, gotcha. Like Big said, he's been in this game for years. It's made him an animal. There's rules to it.
Oh
he even
yeah, oh
he even
yeah,
wrote a Trap GPT manual, a step by
oh
step
yeah,
booklet you to get
oh yeah,
your
oh yeah.
procurement on track.
Oh yeah, man. A lot of people they don't talk to our diaspora and they don't speak our language. So,
Hey,
I wanted to make sure that I had something that spoke a language that we can understand. So
hey,
it was
exactly.
born out of that.
Like, cause I see all the like when even when I was reading your stuff, I see the wordplay on this. I like that.
Yes, sir.
Um, what was the moment that you realized that you had something here and you realized that, oh, I could turn this into something. This could be my thing here.
Um, so working in the government, I basically got to a point where I was no longer writing solicitations or posting them. I was managing the teams that did that.
Hmm.
And I was basically the last line of defense. So when uh suppliers sent in their proposals, I was the one that was basically in the back office approving them. And I'd gotten
Gotcha.
to a point where I'd approved over $500 million in contract awards. If
Mm,
I include the awards from the teams that work for me, that number can easily climb over $1 billion over the course of my career. Less than
mhm.
5% of that went towards primes that look like you and I.
Yeah.
So for me, seeing those proposals come in and having to say, hey, you lost this bid or you lost this contract because you forgot to have this document notarized or you didn't turn this particular document in. I took that information and decided I was going to design a framework around it to make sure that when these proposals are written and turned in, they're undeniable. So my very first client, walked away with a $1.9 million contract, and to date I have an 85% win rate. So
Mm.
when that framework worked
Mhm.
on my very, very first client, I knew I had something.
Man, when it's working. So you got the advantage too, because you worked on both sides of this thing.
Oh yeah.
You know, tell me this, as a decision maker and now the strategist, what's one of the s- most the most important things that most small businesses and owners don't understand about this system?
Uh, don't believe the hype. You'll hear a lot that a person has to be in business for 2 years to go after a government contract or 2 years to go after a minority business certification. There's there's no there's no time frame. You can start a business today and get a contract next week. My very first client, he was a
Mhm,
truck driver, man. He had a trucking company. His
mhm.
first contract was in landscaping. Never did landscaping a day in his life. The
Wow.
company only existed for 60 days before he got a $1.9 million contract. So my first bit of advice is don't believe the hype. Start bidding. Do it now. There's no minimum time frame required for you to do that.
Mm, that's powerful. Don't Don't believe the hype. Start bidding now, y'all. Yeah, some of y'all have been just looking at contracts like, "Nah, I'm qualified, I don't qualify." But as you can see, some people got qualified in 60 days or less.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, what my man is saying here, my man took a system most people find intimidating and turned it into something to relatable for the culture. um, let's talk about that journey a little bit more because I find that because I haven't dabbled in it yet either. So now I'm like, okay, I might be missing out on some bread. I might need to figure this thing
Right.
out.
Right.
Like, I got a podcast, right?
Mhm,
And let's say you were my strategist.
mhm.
How would you advise me to look at, the procurement space for something I do?
Oh, man, challenge me, man, challenge me.
Alright, alright.
That's easy. Let's start with a local municipality, right?
Okay.
City, county, parish, whatever. Every month they have committee meetings, be it board of commissioners, city council.
Mhm.
Those meetings are recorded. They have to capture video, they have to capture audio.
Mhm.
Nobody within that organization does that. You, being a podcaster, are familiar with video and audio. So
Mhm.
when those solicitations hit, you already have the equipment that you need to go after these contracts where you're basically recording the video conferencing, editing it, and then packaging it up and sending it back to them. You're
Mhm.
already doing it. You're just not doing it for them. So
Mm.
it's give me something challenging, man. Give me
Right.
something
Oh, I
challenging.
see. But I didn't even know that they hire people like that to do that type of work. All right. Let me
the
see.
the
I get
government buys everything.
everything.
And when I say everything, I mean everything. I've seen solicitations for baloney.
Nah, get out of here.
My baloney is my first name, Bologna. Baloney.
My man over here spit commercials now.
so they literally buy everything.
uh, man. Uh, but I mean, how long is the? Let's say if I were to find something, a municipality that wanted us to do the podcast production and some marketing
Mhm.
pieces and whatever for government. I like, and this is my bias talking. I heard like the process is super long and the payment process is super long. Is that cap or is?
So so here's the thing. The one thing that you can count on is the government is never going to say I ain't got it, right?
Mhm,
So you may be on a net 30 as it relates to being paid, but if you get paid 15 days late, 20 days late, you're still going to get that check, right?
mhm,
Um as far as the process is concerned, the length of time it takes from municipality to municipality is a little bit different, but it's not a lengthy process. You bid on a solicitation. I've seen clients of mine who's going through my class get contracts while they're still in the class. I have a 6-week class.
yeah,
They bid on something that first week, and by the time we get to week 4 or 5, they're announcing on the Zoom or on the class, "Hey, I just won a contract."
wow,
So it really depends on the municipality, the complexity of the procurement that you're going after. But as far as getting paid, you never, ever, ever have to worry about getting paid when it comes to the government. You always gonna get your bag.
man. Now, here's another question I got, right? Like, say if the government said, Terrell, listen, want you to come out here to Philly to do a whole production of some, some interviews that we want to do with, the locals out here and put it into a nice little piece, right?
Mhm,
And um we're gonna pay you such and such money to do this.
mhm.
And I say, all right, well, I need to get a production team. I need to get a bigger production team. So I can't float all the costs to this. So I'm gonna need some upfront money. Can I do that?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. You can absolutely ask for kickoff costs.
Like,
Especially if it's a situation where they're seeking you out and you're coming into a new municipality or traveling, you can charge travel costs, room and board. Municipalities pay these things. It's not a unique thing.
mm,
When they're dealing with project-based contracts for new buildings, I've seen them give 30% upfront, right? If
mm,
they're buying software, they pay for the software completely upfront before anything gets installed on the system. They get a bill, they pay the invoice, then they get the software on the back end. So asking for part of that money upfront is not unheard of.
okay. All right. Good to know. All right. All right. You know, I want to dive into like some of the challenges because every entrepreneur has faces that moment,
Right.
the wall, the tests. Are you built for this moment? When you think about your career and setting this up, what was one of the biggest challenges breaking into this space, especially as a Black entrepreneur teaching government contracting? Because I don't see too many people looking like us teaching government contracting. To be honest with you, maybe I just not looking for it, or I just like I don't know. Is there a lot of people that look like us doing this?
It's a couple out there, but it's trust, man. People that look like us, we don't really trust everybody. Everybody got an angle, everybody got a game. So, you
Yeah,
know, I come at it real direct. Let me make you $1 million. You tell somebody that, they look at you like you got three eyeballs, right? So it's it's hard when you're putting something in front of them that by all appearances looks too good to be true, but I have a track record, right?
yeah,
I have real people who have done real things, and all this information is available via open records. You can go to the city and get copies of these contracts and see that these are actually my clients that I work with. So I think the biggest thing is gaining trust. You know, go after this, write this proposal, submit this proposal, and have the confidence to know that you got the tools to win.
yeah. I want to unpack that a little bit because what you said there is just a fact. Um, you know, and on the road to riches and diamond rings, real people do real things.
Right.
But even with that and all the success,
Shout
I,
out
I
Mobby.
feel shout, yeah. uh, um, I feel like people in our community still have a certain amount of skepticism, even when they see us doing it, right?
Right.
Um, Either from within the system or in our own communities, or just liaison. He ain't really doing it like that, right? So, like, how do you overcome? How do you help people? Well, I don't know if it's a they problem or a you problem, or like how do you kind of navigate that? I guess.
Um, so I think at the end of the day, you really gotta go after the people that's really out there to get it. Not
Yeah,
everybody who's in business is is in business, right?
that's a bar
They
right there. That's a bar.
right. So so for me, I go after the business owners that's looking to build legacy,
Okay.
because you're talking about, when you're thinking in terms of working with the government or even large corporate contracts, you're not talking about a couple months or a customer that you're going to see once or twice. These contracts are 1 to 5 years, right?
Mm,
So you got to be willing to invest those 5 years into this contract and making things shake, so that when that next round comes up, you're ready to go in for another 5 years, or you've built that 5 years of experience. Now you have 3, 4 contracts running concurrently. Not
mhm.
everybody's built for that.
Yeah,
So I have to really vet the people who are going through this program, because if you're not serious and you're not really looking to grind, I really don't want your money. Like,
yeah,
I want you to be able to build a legacy, because that's what I'm in it for. I'm in
yeah,
it to build a landscape and business that looks very, very different 20 years from now than it looks now. I
yeah.
want it to be real colorful.
Yes, I'm there with you. That's why we even started this podcast because I got pulled into a startup weekend one time where Google Tech Stars, they was like, listen, we're trying to get more black and brown people in here. And I was like, well, if you're trying to get more black and brown people in here, first of all, this marketing thing ain't good. This is trash. This is trash. We gonna have to do this. You have to go out to the hood. We're gonna have to have some mix and mingle barbecue sessions
Right,
and do
right,
this where the people is at, and then pull them up. Then get close to the people who the influencers are there to get put people on and invite them to this thing, right? And we were
right.
successful in bringing more people to the startup world into what they was doing. But Yeah, I agree with you. We on the same mission. I'm doing it through storytelling and connecting folks to the resources, to the plug like yourself, and you doing it by
Yes, sir.
educate people how to get to the bag, right?
Sir.
It's
Yes,
a
sir.
partnership made in heaven. Now that I
Yes,
think
sir.
about it, um, let's talk about contracting opportunities because
Okay.
was there ever a contract opportunity that didn't go as planned, and what did you kind of learn from that?
Uh, there's always a contract opportunity that doesn't go as planned. Um, so the first thing is I tell all of my clients fail forward, right?
Like,
When you get that contract, understand that there's going to be things that you're going to stumble with, you're going to fall with. One of my clients, and it's funny because when this new administration took over, everybody was like, "Oh, the fire's in the building, no more contracts."
mhm.
2 months after that administration took over, she got a contract with the Navy,
Wow.
right? So what ended up happening was she ended up getting a six-figure contract with the Navy for gloves, right? She ordered the gloves, she had them drop shipped to the Navy. They do rigorous testing on it.
Mm,
And before they even did the testing, somebody basically looked at them and said, "Hey, these lot numbers don't match. I'm shipping $300,000 worth of gloves back."
mm,
And the supplier's like, "No, we're not taking all those."
mhm,
So she where she made an error where she got the contract and she didn't read the line item on the contract that said all the gloves needed to come from the same lot number. But we were
mm,
able to navigate that to where they basically kept about 90% of the gloves and now they're ordering more. But
mm.
you have to fail forward, take those jabs and learn from them and keep moving.
Yeah, I love that. That's a good thing on mindset. Having the mindset to not fall back, do the rock away, lean back just because something goes wrong, but how do I continuously move
Right,
forward
right,
so that I'm making progress? And when you talk about that, you're talking about really mindset and mechanics. So most folks just think it's just about the bidding process, but sometimes you have to really, position your mindset and really about being mindful in that way and persistent, right? And
right,
always leaning into what
right.
you need to be doing next to solve those problems.
And to your point, most folk, I mean, even the people who do what I do, who's in my industry, really just focus on the bidding process. They don't focus on anything in its orbit. They teach you how to look for government contracts. They show you a little bit of how to write a proposal. But what about when you don't win when you should have? You were the lowest
Mm,
bid and they give it to their cousin, aunt, uncle, nephew, friend, right? How do you address that? So I cover everything on the front end and the back end because what happens when you do win a contract?
yeah,
There's a contract management piece of that you really got to understand in order for you to keep that contract. I can help you get it, but who's going to help you keep it?
yeah, yeah. But that's what makes you different because you looking at it from a holistic standpoint of view and
Right,
you're doing it from a culturally authentic way that we understand it, whereas like some other people that do what you do, they're just looking at it from a very institutional way and just all about the semantics and the bidding part, and they don't care about the holistic view. I'm
right.
curious, how do you navigate the balance between being culturally authentic and institutionally credible?
Certifications, man.
Certifications, they got certifications for this.
Yeah, man. Credentials are everything. And that's another thing that kind of sets me apart. I'm one of the few who teach what I teach, who's
Yeah.
credentialed as a purchasing officer, purchasing manager. So I
Uh,
have several, some national, some international, but I consistently learn the industry
okay.
because I mean you gotta understand it in
Yeah.
order for you to take advantage of it. Right.
Facts.
You got, if, listen, I'm from the hood, man. If you're going to break the law, learn the law. The best criminals are lawyers. Right. So, so I learn as much as possible about my industry. And in doing that, I can navigate it better for the community that I serve.
That's incredible. You really took this opportunity. I don't know if it was a side hustle when you first started, but it seemed like it kind of was. And you turned it
It
into a whole
was.
system.
And you can't, I got forced into procurement, right?
Yeah,
Um, and I got forced into turning this from a side hustle into full-time
yeah,
business because I'm dealing with people. I'm sitting in my office, working for the government, and I'm getting calls from clients like, "Hey, man, I got this contract. Can you step outside?" So I'm like, it's becoming a little bit too much for me to do both. So
yeah.
I walked away from a six-figure, cushy position to walk into a position where I can help my people, man.
Yeah, but it's all about legacy, as you said before.
Absolutely.
Let's dive into this because I want to dive into this a little bit more with the side, like, because we talked about that. I teased that earlier in the show, talking about how you can take a side hustle and turn it into a system, so much
Right.
like what you just did, and I want to dive into that playbook just a little bit
Right.
for the entrepreneurs listening right now. Maybe they're selling. I don't know, they're selling products or offering services, but have no clue how to even start with government contracts. Where should they begin?
Getting your business in order. We're all hustlers, man. It's in our DNA. It's who we are. My hustle started right here in Philly. 12, 13-year-old going in bars selling cigarette lighters. Right. Um, we all have a hustle. It's really about getting that hustle legal. Going and getting your EIN number is free. Registering your business with the Secretary of State is cheap. It's not free, but it's cheap. Going online and getting yourself registered in supplier portals, it's free. You can do all that for less than $100, right? And having the opportunities come to you when you register in these supplier portals, they send you opportunities. When they post something that's relative to your category or your industry that you put in there, when they post something, it comes to your email. You don't have to chase them for that. So it's really about getting your business in a position where you can bid.
Mm, I like that. What would you say is the first actionable step to get contract ready?
The first actionable step, getting a generalized business name,
Yeah.
right? Registering with the Secretary of State would be the absolute first step. And I say generalized business name because if you bid on, let's say, a contract, we'll talk about the baloney again.
Yeah.
You bid on a solicitation for baloney, and the name of your company is XYZ Landscaping.
Hmm.
It's going to look a little odd, right? But but if it's XYZ Enterprises,
Yeah.
that could be anybody or anything.
Yeah.
So you could be bidding on baloney and landscaping and be completely fine doing so. You're not painting yourself into a box.
Yeah.
So the very, very, very first step is getting your business legal, registering it with the Secretary of State, getting your EIN number.
Okay. Like that first step. You have when I was on your website, you have ton of great resources, and I want you to break down one of your frameworks because you got a few on them on there. You got the big bidness.
Yeah.
You got the trap GPT. Whichever one you want to pick. Like, help me break down one of those frameworks that help me simplify the process to tell the people what it
Okay.
is, what they get with that.
Okay. So, I'm gonna rely on one of my hood mentors. I can't say his name, so he know who he is. But He used to always tell me, man, you got to know the law to break the law. This guy actually went to law school, right? Um, so in the Big BIDness book, I basically break down piece by piece what the procurement process looks like, not from your aspect as a supplier, but from my aspect as a purchasing officer. What happens when that proposal leaves your hand, and what am I doing with it? Because that's
Mm,
what you really need to know. So when that proposal leaves your hands, it goes through an evaluation process, and every step of that process is outlined in the book, right?
mhm,
And then I have a masterclass that's aligned with that book. So I
mhm,
walk you through everything from finding the solicitations to how to format and write your proposal so that when the evaluation committee is looking at it, the
mhm,
information is right there, aligned where it needs to be,
mhm.
right? And then on the other end of it, I even go as far as showing you how to get the government to tell you how much to bid.
Oh, wow. Really?
So, so yeah, man,
What
it's
kinda trickery is this? Trickery dickory dock. What is this? See, this
hey
is what I'm
man, it's
talking about. Like, look, shout out to the hood mentors that be out here doing it, really bringing systems and strategy to the streets. Man, this is truly legacy work out here. Y'all doing it. Hats off to y'all. Hats off to y'all.
Hey man, we magic, man. We magic. We bring that magic to the game.
We is. Now,
Um,
before go ahead, what were you gonna say?
no, no, go ahead, go ahead.
Before we had jumped on, we was in the green room. Me and Malcolm, we were chopping it up, and I was admiring his website. I was like, "Yo, you got a dope website." And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Who did your website?" Because I spent a couple of grand getting folks to do my website. Maybe a little bit more than a couple of grand. Now I'm thinking about it because that was only a couple of grand one time. But you go to read iterations of it, and it starts to add up. Um, Anywho, this man told me, "Oh yeah, I did AI, man. I did AI." I was like, in my mind, I was like so mad. I was like, "What? You did AI did this, and I spent all this money on?" And so, I want to ask you, how has AI changed the game for entrepreneurs, especially in your space in government contracting?
Oh man. So when I first started writing proposals, I mean on the supplier side, even solicitations on the contractor side, takes days, hours to
Hmm.
write that stuff because it has to be heavily researched, right?
Hmm.
Um, as a part of my framework, I basically showed the entrepreneurs how to sit down and write a full 20, 30, 40-page proposal in less than an hour, right?
Wow.
Using AI. So, one of the things that I saw, AI has been with us for decades, man. And it's been kind of in the back dark corner. Nobody really understood it, but spell check is AI.
Hmm.
Predictive text, when you go to Google or whatever and you start typing in something and it finishes your sentence, that's AI. It's been with us for a long, long time. So for me, it's been really kind of grasping at those little straws that they've put out over the years. And when AI hit the mainstream, jumping on and learning as much as possible. So as far as businesses is concerned, you can create AI agents. I have a
Hmm.
marketing agent, I have an ad agent, I have a social media marketing agent, I have a website designer, and I have a lawyer. I don't
Damn, that's
pay
a
any
whole
of them.
team right there.
Right. I don't pay any of them.
You
They
got a
work for
whole
me
team.
24 hours a day. I don't pay any of them.
They don't ask for no break. They don't ask for a raise.
Right.
They don't ask for no snacks.
Right. And I put that into the same kind of manual, Trap GPT. It's a manual for people who look like me, who come from the same place that I come and speak the language that I speak. So it's basically AI for hustlers.
Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Chicka, chicka. It's the 10 trap commandments.
Yes, sir.
uh, Give me a success story. Maybe like a client or a student who's used Trap AI, used some of these AI or some of these principles, who started small and ended up landing something big through your process.
So I'll give you one from both sides of the track because I do the Trap GPT AI for business masterclass, and I do the Big BIDness government contracting masterclass. So on the 17th of September, a contract was ratified for one of my clients from my last workshop for nearly $4 million. So she runs a home care business, a senior care business, and her business was struggling, but she still invested in herself. My class isn't cheap, right? She still invested in herself, and while she was running her business and trying to keep that afloat, she was out delivering groceries, man, to make
Mm,
ends meet. And it's funny because she calls me and I pick up the phone and she's crying.
mhm,
Like I'm not a small dude. I'm a big guy, right? She almost had me crying. Like she's crying. And I'm like, "Hey, what's going on? Is everything okay?" She said, "Uh, Malcolm, I won a contract." So I'm asking her, I'm like, "Hey, well, how much is it for?" I'm trying to, get her to settle down a little bit. And I'm like, "Well, how much is it for?" So she says, "Well, the contract is for," I think she said something in the neighborhood of $480,000 for the year. Right? And I'm like, "Well, how long is the contract for?" She said, "It's for 1 year, but let me look at it." And she says, "Well, there's 4 options on here." So I said, "Listen, I need to make sure you understand what you're looking at. You're looking at a 5-year contract for almost a $500,000 a year with a 5% escalation every year. You've basically just made almost $4 million."
mm,
And she went dead quiet, right? She says that when she got the email from the municipality, this is Gwinnett County, when she got the email from Gwinnett County, she was on a grocery delivery, standing on somebody's doorstep dropping off groceries. And she said she checked the email and she started jumping up and down on somebody's ring camera. So she's like, "I'm on somebody's ring camera jumping up and down right now." But that was life changing for her because she went from, delivering groceries to now having to hire 40 people to
mm,
support this contract, right? Now, on the other side of that, I had a young lady who went through my Track GPT AI for Hustlers workshop, and she had a children's book called Three Cool Kings.
mhm,
And she was basically marketing her book. And when she came through the class, she honed in on the marketing and advertising section of it because, as a part of the class, I have everybody create a commercial for themselves.
yeah.
So she took that and ran with it to the stratosphere, man. She created a whole cartoon series based on the book after that class. And since she's gotten 3 contracts where she's providing those books to 3 different school districts. And
Wow.
now her social media is on fire, man, because she converted those books and those characters in the books, which are modeled after her 3 sons, but she
Mm,
converted those books into now physical content that she can post online. And she has a cartoon series now.
I love that. I love that. Thanks you for sharing that, man. See, that's the kind of story that keeps people motivated. Um, I'm even I'm like, you got me, my wheels turning. I was like, man, I'm gonna have to really look at this. I wasn't really messing with government contracts like that, but maybe I'm missing out on something here. Um, yeah, let's talk legacy because you built more than businesses. You built a blueprint for success, and you help people turn their business, their ideas, their vision into legacies.
Right.
Um, you talk a lot about the potential into profit? What are some of the biggest mindset shifts entrepreneurs need to make to win government contracts?
Think big, man. If you go to some of these accelerators or talk to some of these, purchasing professionals, they're real quick to tell you, hey, you just starting to subcontract with somebody, get your certification, let them use. Nah, man. You can go out there and bid on the same contract that these larger companies are bidding and only giving you pennies for. Right now, you're working for a company that has a government contract, and I'm sure you don't even know it, right? So go big or go home. There's nothing stopping you from going after that prime contract. So they're structured as primes and subs. So they'll tell you real fast, go after the sub, get the experience. That prime is making 85, 90% on this contract, and you're taking the scraps at 5 and 10% on the bottom, but you're doing most of the work, right?
Mm,
What's preventing you from going in there since you're doing the work anyway and going after that prime contract?
yeah. Which one is easier to get? Is it like local municipality government contracts or like federal contracts? And then and let's break it down because like there's different contracts you can go for. You got the local government as in city contracts. You got
Mhm,
county contracts. You got
mhm.
federal contracts and you got state contracts. Like
Right.
if you look at across the because it's different, and I don't even think people understand there's so many different layers of government. Like which layer, in your humble opinion, is the one that small businesses should be operating in to get their easiest foot in the door and has an easier time and more opportunities to get contracts?
Easier. I don't know if there's an easier because it's a standard framework pretty much across the board, be it local, state, federal, at least on the bidding side of it, right? Um, Now, if you're talking about what's more accessible and what those contracts that might be a little smaller, where you can actually come in on a prime side, I'd say city and county.
City and county.
And they don't have as far as qualifying for them, they don't have the same they don't have the same requirements, right?
Hmm.
So city and county follows pretty much their own procurement laws.
Hmm.
The federal government actually has FAR regulations where there's laws across the board, no matter what uh, federal organization you go to. You can go to one city and they have a specific rule. You can go to a city 15 minutes away and it'll be completely different. So they don't march to the same drum as the federal government. So yeah, I mean, if you're thinking in terms of what's more accessible, it'll be city and county.
Gotcha. Um, who in your experience, where do you feel like you've had more success at the city or the county level? Which one has been more
I have
lucrative for you?
destroyed both of them. I've gotten in both of them. Because I mean, it's so the way I design my framework, right? A bid is a bid, whether it's city, county, state, federal. A bid is a bid, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna have the same parts. The only difference that you're gonna see between those particular municipalities is how and where you submit it, right? But the framework that I teach is going to be the same no matter where you go. So I've had a client get a high six-figure contract with the Navy. I've had a client get a $1.2 million contract with the Army. I've had clients get $1 million contracts with local cities and municipalities. So I've seen success in both arenas. It's really just a matter of what you're targeting, the industry that you're targeting. Um, on kind of where you land as far as what you're winning. You're going to see more contract opportunities on a city, state, and county level than you actually see with the federal government. I can say that there's more opportunities there.
Oh, okay. All right. Good to know. Good to know. What are some common mistakes you see entrepreneurs make that keep them from thinking big and winning?
Whoo, he put me in a hot seat. Let me see. I've one of the toughest days of my life. I had to call a guy, um, and I shouldn't have because technically I'm not allowed to. But this was a brother,
Yeah.
and I saw that he was really trying. Man, I had to step outside and call a guy and tell him that he lost out on a $2.5 million contract
Mm,
because he forgot to get a document notarized.
mm,
He forgot to get a document notarized. So, read those documents. Make sure that they're completed and submitted because this is an insider thing. They put those things there to go through a process of elimination because I can't read 50 bids, right? If I have 50 page submissions, I can't go through all of those. So the first thing I'm going to do is look through them and see which ones didn't submit all the documents. Then I can put those to the side and deem them non-responsive. I don't have to evaluate those. Then I'll go in and I'll see who's not within the competitive range. So
mm,
either you charged way too much or you charged way too little, and I know that you underbid, I can get rid of those. Now these 50 proposals that I have is now 8, right? So the biggest mistake that I see is not reading the solicitation and the submission instructions.
mm. Yeah. That had to hurt. That's tough right there.
Oh yeah.
That's tough. But it goes back to the conversation what we were having earlier when you talk about people really handling their business, right? And being on
Right.
top of your business. And sometimes I think and sometimes we be in this hustle mentality that we don't really focus on our business like that and realize we have to switch to enter this new phase of life where it's all about the details, right?
Right.
And how do you help people move from like that hustling mentality to be on all out over here, go get it here, to contractor? Like, all right, as a contractor, you got to read the fine print. You got to like be X, Y's, Q's, dot the I's and T's. Like, how do you help people move from that hustler to contractor mentality?
I don't pull punches, man. I don't sugarcoat things. I don't handhold. I think that's one of the worst things you can do for for business. If you slip up and it's something silly, I'm gonna tell you, yeah, that was real goofy, right? And having being real with the people that you work with, pointing out those errors, giving them an opportunity to correct them, but be like, listen, don't do that again, right? Explaining what the consequence of these errors are, because a person will tell you that you're wrong and be quick to not tell you why,
Mm,
right? So I'm gonna explain to you what you did wrong here and tell you how to fix it, but I'm not gonna be polite about it. I don't have time to be polite if I'm trying to make you a millionaire, right? Now, of course, I'm always gonna be respectful,
yeah.
but polite doesn't make you money,
Hmm.
right? Polite, it's never in the history of business made anybody money except Chick-fil-A. Polite has made Chick-fil-A a lot of money. Let me just put that out there. But in any other business, polite has never made anybody millions.
Yeah. I'm also thinking too, like, because earlier you were talking about subs and primes, and what I'm thinking about in that conversation of subs and primes, sometimes I feel like sometimes some certain groups, like two brothers, need to work together to be a sub and a prime to win a contract, and sometimes they don't often do that. Or maybe have three people come to collectively to get, like, if three of y'all can come together to get $1 billion contract, it's worth it,
Right,
right?
right.
Because you can't do it by, you wouldn't be able to win that $1 billion bid on your own. And you know, I feel like if we start to come together that way, and you know, I don't know, join forces like Voltron to get some of the $1 billion ones, that's
Right.
thinking big too, right? And so for our
Absolutely.
Black and Pan African businesses community, what role do you feel like collective power plays in scaling and sustainability when it comes to this contracting thing?
So for me, that's the three B's, right? Buy together, bid together, build together, right? It's you're only a small business when you're alone, right? If you think about some of the largest companies in the world, they got that way through buying other companies, right? They're it's their form of teaming up with other companies, but they're bringing on an asset from another company that they just didn't have, right? Um, Pepsi and Coca-Cola were soda, they were soft drink companies. Now you're buying water. Those are generally owned by one of those two larger companies. They didn't
Hmm.
just start producing water, they started working with a bottling company that bottled water. So teaming is very, very important in our community because you may have and I rely on this statement a lot, and it's funny. Yeah, I hear people say it all the time. Significant other, sign if I can't, right? You know, you may got a job, she might have the credit, right? And it's the same, it's the same relationship. You know, when it comes to business, you might have 50 employees to support this contract, and I might have the experience and the money and the financial backing. We get together, we're one large company as opposed to two small companies that otherwise wouldn't qualify, right? So teaming is very important. I can promise you, every single one of us knows somebody that does electrical, knows somebody that does plumbing, knows somebody that does HVAC. If you get that plumbing guy together with the HVAC guy, the electrical guy, and the carpenter, they have a construction company. Now, individually, you're an electrician, you're a plumber, you're an HVAC guy.
Mm,
Collectively, you are a full-fledged construction company.
mm,
So when we think in terms of that, that electrician might be able to go out and get a contract for a couple 100,000 a year. That construction company can go out and bid on a $400 million building project,
mm.
and they're running those trades. All they got to do is hire some folk, hire a crew.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You know, that when you were talking about like how these companies buy up other companies, that immediately made me think of that 150 Cent line when he said, on I Get Money, where he's like, I took quarter water, sold it in bottles for $2. Coca-Cola
right,
came and bought it for billions. I'm like, what the?
right, right. And he's exactly right, man. Shout out to 50, man. Shit.
Shout out to 50. He was
Shout out
giving
to
us
50,
game.
man.
We just didn't know it.
Calling by his government. Shout out to Curtis, man.
Look, shout out to Curtis. I love it. I love it. Um, how do you see AI shaping the next generation of business ownership and contracting?
AI is the next generation of business.
Uh,
If the conversation is people people are being replaced by AI, and that's not the case. People are being replaced by people who understand AI. It's a difference, right? So you learn AI, you have job security. You
Mhm.
have career security. You have business security because all of those hundreds of thousands of dollars that you'd be spending over the course of years paying people like lawyers and marketing agencies and ad agencies and all that can be done in house using a $20 a month tool.
Mm.
So it's really going to change the landscape, especially for businesses that might have a great idea. The owner might have a great work ethic, but don't really have the money to be able to spend $50,000 for a huge marketing campaign to get her or his name out there.
Mm.
Now that 20, 30, 40, $50,000 bill might cost you $120 for the year for an AI platform that you can use to do all of that for you.
That facts, facts. I love it, man. I gotta shout you out, brother, because this episode is right on time. You showing us that procurement isn't just paperwork; it's power. AI isn't just a tool; it's power. Um, and I think this is going to be the episode that's going to change a lot of people's lives if they really taking in the gems that you drop in. But before we wrap up, let's make sure the audience knows how to connect and keep learning from you. Where can they reach you at?
So on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, across all platforms, I am Mr. Purchase Order.
That do you got any things coming up that the people should know about?
So yeah, right now I have a Big BIDness workshop that's kicking off on the 18th. It's
Okay.
virtual, so you can be there if you in Mississippi or California or Oregon. Are any of us in Oregon? Eh,
Uh,
maybe.
I think there might be some of us in Oregon. I've been up there. I see a sprinkle of us. We out there. We out here.
But yeah, it's a 6 week masterclass, and then I have the TrapGPT AI for Business masterclass also kicking off on the 18th. So it's on Saturdays. If you go to work during the week and you're a solopreneur, or you're still doing your side hustle, Saturday morning you can be there. It's 2 hours out of your Saturday. It's 6 weeks, and it's a game changer.
Then if you hearing this, all y'all that be complaining about I need something, I'm trying to find me something to get into so I can elevate, blah blah blah, and you been in conversation with me, you talk about I got a growth mindset. I'm trying to build better. If you got a growth mindset, then you ain't sleeping in on Saturday. You hear my man just say what he said. You should be showing up Saturday morning because you ain't doing nothing but uh just eating breakfast cereal and
Right.
you could show up in your drawers. So
Yes,
uh
sir.
look at Malcolm. Thank you for dropping so many gems today. You made something that feels really complicated feel doable. I'm even like thinking about myself and how I'm gonna take some of these gems and apply it. And
Oh
that's
yeah,
what
let's get it, man.
yeah, let's get it. That's what this movement is all about. Oh, you know what? Before we close out, how can people tap into the because you got the procure first, is it procure force
Procure
and your
force. Yeah.
books too. I forgot about the books. Let me not forget
Right.
that.
So everything can be found at www.mrpurchaseorder.com. So merch, books, classes. This coming weekend, I'll be adding my tour page. So wherever I'm popping up, if I'm in your city, the dates and times and locations will be there.
Yeah, all right. And I'm gonna see I might get my guy out here to San Diego for all my San Diego people who are out here with me. Um, Run family, make sure you check out MrPurchaseOrder.com. Follow at Mr. Purchase across social media. If this episode gave you value, share it with 3 entrepreneurs you know who are ready to level up. Subscribe to the Rise Urban Nation podcast on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your pods, and drop us a review. So many people can find these conversations. Until next time, stay rising, stay resilient, stay rooted in purpose, and think big. Like my man, Mr. Purchase say, think big.
Yes, sir.
Peace.